Queen, you asked for a decorative man, but he gifted you twin heirs. The royal palace of Azurath stood gleaming against the purple sky, its crystalline spires reflecting the light of 3 moons. Inside, Queen Zalera paced the length of her private chambers, her iridescent skin shifting colors with each emotion that passed through her. I grow bored of the same entertainments, she announced to her royal advisor, Trizek. The same faces. The same conversations. Trizek bowed low, his 4 arms folded in the traditional gesture of respect. Perhaps your majesty would enjoy a new specimen for the royal collection. The queen's skin flashed a vibrant blue, interest. Go on. We have surveyed the primitive world called Earth. The creatures there are quite diverse, and some are visually appealing despite their simplicity. Queen Zalera had ruled the Azurathian Empire for over 3 centuries. Her species was among the most advanced in the galaxy, tall, elegant beings with color-changing skin, telepathic abilities, and lifespans that stretched for millennia. They viewed most other species as little more than interesting wildlife. Show me these Earth creatures, she commanded. Trizek projected holographic images of various Earth species. When human images appeared, the queen leaned forward. These ones walk on 2 legs, like us, she observed. Though they look so limited. Only 2 arms. And their skin stays the same color? Yes, your majesty. They call themselves humans. They have primitive technology and limited intelligence, but many find their appearance pleasing. Some royal houses have begun keeping them as decorative companions. The queen's skin rippled with violet contemplation. Decorative companions. Like pets. More than pets, less than equals. They can learn simple commands, provide basic conversation. A status symbol among the elite. Queen Zalera smiled. Find me one. A male specimen, physically impressive by their standards. Something to amuse me. Trizek bowed again. At once, your majesty. Dr. Michaelchin checked his watch as he walked through the park. It was late, and the full moon illuminated his path. As a geneticist specializing in evolutionary biology, he often worked late hours at the research center. Tonight's breakthrough had left him too energized to sleep. A strange blue light suddenly enveloped him. Michael froze, his scientific mind racing to explain the phenomenon. Before he could reach any conclusion, consciousness slipped away. When he awoke, he found himself in a large, oddly shaped room. The walls seemed to pulse with light, and gravity felt slightly wrong. Michael sat up on what appeared to be some kind of examination table. The specimen is conscious, a voice announced in perfect English, though the speaker was anything but human. Michael gaped at the 4-armed, gray-skinned being studying him from across the room. What, who are you? Where am I? The alien ignored his questions. Basic language function confirmed. Physical condition optimal. No visible damage during transport. Transport. Listen, I demand to know. Silence, the alien said calmly. You will be prepared to meet Her Majesty. I am Trizek, Royal Advisor. You are now property of Queen Zalera of the Azurathian Empire. You should consider yourself fortunate. Michael stood up, anger overriding his shock. Property? I'm nobody's property. I'm a human being, a doctor, a scientist. Trizek looked unimpressed. Your primitive status designations are meaningless here. You are now a decorative companion to the Queen. You will be treated well if you behave appropriately. Before Michael could respond, 2 guards entered. They were tall, muscular beings with skin that shifted between gray and blue. Without speaking, they escorted him from the room. Queen Zalera was settling a diplomatic dispute when her new human arrived. She dismissed the ambassadors with a wave of her hand, her attention immediately captured by the strange creature being led into her throne room. This human stood tall and proud despite his obvious confusion. His black hair was cut short, his face angular with what Zalera assumed were attractive features for his species. His body appeared fit beneath the strange garments he wore. "Your Majesty," Trizek announced, "your decorative human companion." The queen's skin shifted to a pleased pink. "It looks healthy. Does it have a designation?" "I have a name," Michael said firmly before Trizek could answer. "Dr. Michael Chen." The room fell silent. No one addressed the queen without permission. The guards tensed, ready to punish the human's insolence. To everyone's surprise, Queen Zalera laughed, her skin shimmering with amusement. "It speaks with spirit. How entertaining." She descended from her throne, circling Michael with curious eyes. "Tell me, Michael Chen, what is it, doctor?" Michael stood his ground, meeting her gaze. "A physician. A healer. I also research genetics, the science of how living things pass traits to their offspring." "A primitive healer. How quaint." She reached out, touching his face with long, elegant fingers. "Your skin is warm. And it doesn't change colors with your emotions. How do your kind communicate feelings?" "Words, expressions, body language," Michael replied, trying to mask his discomfort at being examined like a zoo animal. "And we're not primitive. We've mapped our genome, cured diseases, explored our solar system." The queen's skin flickered briefly with surprise before settling into a condescending blue-green. "Adorable. You believe your achievements significant." She addressed Trizek without looking away from Michael. "Have it properly clothed and brought to my private chambers. I wish to observe it more closely." 3 weeks passed. Michael was housed in luxurious quarters attached to the queen's chambers. He was given fine clothes made of materials he couldn't identify, exotic foods, and access to learning terminals where he studied the Azurathian language and culture. He learned that Earth was considered a wildlife preserve by the galactic community, a planet with promising but undeveloped species, monitored but generally left alone to evolve naturally. Humans were nowhere near the technological level of species like the Azurathians, who had mastered faster-than-light travel, matter manipulation, and near immortality through genetic engineering. Each day, Queen Zalera summoned him to entertain her with stories of Earth or to simply sit near her throne as she conducted royal business. At first, she treated him like an intelligent pet, but gradually, she began asking his opinion on matters, seemingly amused by his primitive perspective. "Your species wages war over resources," she asked one evening as they dined privately in her chambers. "Why not simply synthesize what you need?" "We don't have that technology," Michael explained. "And even advanced societies face conflicts over power, ideology, and territory." "Fascinating." Her skin rippled with interest. "Perhaps there is more complexity to your kind than I initially thought." As days passed, Michael noticed something unusual. Whenever the queen touched him, a casual brush of fingers when passing him something, or the way she sometimes stroked his hair in what he assumed was a pet-like gesture, her skin would flash briefly with an unfamiliar color pattern. More disturbing was his own reaction, a strange electricity that passed between them, unlike anything he'd experienced with another human. Then one morning, he was awakened by sounds of commotion. Rushing to the queen's chambers, he found medical staff surrounding her bed. "What's happening?" he asked one of the attendants he'd become friendly with. "The queen is ill," the alien whispered. "She's experiencing symptoms our healers cannot explain, dizziness, nausea, strange energy fluctuations in her cellular structure." Michael pushed his way closer. Queen Zalera lay on her bed, her normally vibrant skin dull and mottled. When she saw him, her eyes widened. "You," she whispered. "What have you done to me, human?" Michael stared at her, a terrible suspicion forming in his mind as he recognized her symptoms. If he was right, and he prayed he wasn't, the queen's decorative human had done far more than decorate her palace. He had potentially changed the course of 2 species forever. The royal medical chamber buzzed with activity as the queen's health continued to deteriorate. Her skin, normally a canvas of shifting colors, now remained a sickly gray-green. Michael stood in the corner, carefully observing the Azurathian doctors as they ran tests with their advanced equipment. "Your Majesty, we cannot determine the cause of your illness," the chief physician, Dr. Vexer, admitted with obvious distress. "Your genetic structure is showing unusual patterns we've never encountered before." Queen Zalera's eyes fixed on Michael. This began after the human arrived. Could he be carrying some Earth disease? "Impossible, Your Majesty," Dr. Vexer replied. "He was thoroughly decontaminated before being presented to you. Besides, human pathogens cannot affect our biology." Michael stepped forward, his scientific mind racing with possibilities. "Your Majesty, may I ask a few questions about your symptoms?" The room fell silent. No one had given the human permission to speak. Dr. Vexer's skin flashed a warning red. "Know your place, Earth creature." But Queen Zalera raised a weak hand. "Let him speak. His primitive perspective amuses me, even now." Michael approached cautiously. "When did you first notice feeling unwell? Specifically, the nausea, does it occur at certain times of day?" The Queen's eyes narrowed. "In the early hours, when our first sun rises." "What relevance could this possibly have?" "And your energy levels?" "Fatigue?" "Yes, extreme fatigue. And strange cravings for foods I normally find repulsive." Her skin briefly flashed with irritation. "Explain your purpose with these questions, human." Michael took a deep breath. He had a theory, an impossible theory by all standard scientific understanding. But after weeks in this alien palace, he had learned that his understanding of biology and genetics had serious limitations. "Your Majesty, I need access to your medical data," he said carefully. "There's something I want to check." Dr. Vexer bristled. "Absolutely not. Royal medical information is protected by the highest security protocols." The Queen studied Michael's face. After a moment, her skin shifted slightly toward blue, curiosity. "Grant him access, Vexer. What harm can come from letting a primitive examine data he cannot possibly comprehend?" Reluctantly, Dr. Vexer authorized Michael to use one of the medical terminals. Though the interface was alien, Michael had learned enough about Azurathian technology to navigate the basics. He pulled up the Queen's recent scans, focusing on her reproductive system. There it was, subtle but unmistakable to someone with his training. A developing structure that shouldn't be there. "Dar. Vexer," Michael said slowly, "have you scanned Her Majesty's reproductive chamber specifically?" The Azurathian doctor's skin darkened with offense. "Of course not. The Queen has not taken a royal consort. There would be no reason to." He stopped abruptly, his four eyes widening. Queen Zalera sat up sharply. "What are you suggesting?" Michael turned to face her directly. "Your Majesty, I believe you're pregnant." The room erupted into chaos. "Dar." Vexer immediately ordered new scans while other physicians protested that it was impossible. Guards moved closer to Michael, as if he had threatened the Queen rather than offered a diagnosis. Queen Zalera's skin rapidly cycled through colors: disbelief, anger, fear. "Leave us," she commanded suddenly. Everyone except the human and Dr. Vexer. When the room cleared, she fixed Michael with an intense stare. "Explain yourself." Azurathians reproduce through a complex genetic merging ceremony. "I have undergone no such ceremony." Michael chose his words carefully. "On Earth, I specialized in interspecies genetic compatibility. It was theoretical work, studying how different species might hypothetically combine their genetic material. Your symptoms match what we would call morning sickness in human pregnancy." Dr. Vexer completed the new scan and froze, his skin turning stark white. "Impossible," he whispered. "Show me," demanded the Queen. The physician projected a three-dimensional image above the bed. There, nestled in the Queen's reproductive chamber, were two small developing embryos, clearly showing characteristics of both Azurathian and human DNA. Queen Zalera stared at the image in stunned silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was dangerously quiet. How is this possible? Michael's mind raced back through every interaction with the Queen. Your Majesty, do you remember 3 weeks ago, when you showed me the royal gardens? You pricked your finger on that crystal flower and I helped bandage the wound. Yes, she said slowly. You cut your own finger in the process. Our blood mixed, Michael explained. I've noticed Azurathians have unique cellular properties. Your cells can absorb and integrate compatible genetic material on contact. It's part of how your species adapts so quickly to new environments. Dar. Vexor's skin flashed with realization. The human is correct about our cellular absorption capabilities, Your Majesty. But cross-species reproduction should be genetically impossible. The compatibility factors would have to be astronomical. Perhaps not as astronomical as we believed, Michael suggested. My research on Earth suggested that certain genetic markers could bridge seemingly incompatible species. I was working on a theory about universal genetic adaptability when I was brought here. Queen Zalera's hand moved protectively to her abdomen, her skin shifting to a deep purple, a color Michael had never seen her display before. Twins, she whispered, studying the projection. 2 hybrid offspring. Yes, Michael confirmed. The scan suggests they're developing normally, though in an accelerated pattern. Likely a characteristic inherited from your species. Dr. Vexor seemed to recover his composure. Your Majesty, we must terminate this abnormality immediately. The political implications alone would be catastrophic. A queen carrying hybrid offspring with a primitive species? The High Council would never accept. Silence. Queen Zalera's skin flashed brilliant red. You will speak of this to no one, Vexor. That is a royal command. The physician bowed deeply. As you wish, Your Majesty. But your condition will become apparent soon enough. And there are already rumors among the court about your illness. After Vexor departed, Queen Zalera turned to Michael. Her expression was unreadable, but her skin had settled into the deep purple hue. You knew, she accused. You suspected this was happening before today. Michael nodded slowly. I recognized the symptoms about a week ago, but I couldn't be certain without medical confirmation. Why didn't you speak earlier? Would you have believed me? Or would you have had me executed for suggesting such a thing? The Queen's lips curved into the barest smile. A fair assessment. She studied him with new intensity. You are more than you appear, Michael Chen. Your species was categorized as primitive, yet you understand genetics at a level that rivals our own scientists. Humanity has much to offer, Michael said carefully. We're not just decorative. Queen Zalera rose from her bed, moving to the window that overlooked her vast empire. My ancestors have ruled Azurath for 10,000 years. Our bloodline has remained pure throughout that time. She turned back to him, her expression grave. Now I carry what may be the first human Azurathian hybrids in history. What will you do? Michael asked. I don't know, she admitted, her skin shifting through complex patterns of emotion. But until I decide, you are no longer my decorative companion. You are now under my direct protection as the biological father of royal offspring. Michael realized the impossible had happened, his status had fundamentally changed. But as royal guards entered to escort him to new quarters, he couldn't help wondering if this unexpected pregnancy would be seen as a miracle or an abomination by the rest of Azurathian society. And based on the whispers he'd already heard in the palace corridors, he suspected the answer would be the latter. News of the Queen's unusual condition spread through the palace like wildfire despite efforts to keep it secret. Royal courtiers whispered behind ornate pillars while guards exchanged worried glances. A series of urgent meetings filled the High Council chamber, from which Queen Zalera was notably absent. Michael's status had changed dramatically. His quarters had been upgraded to a royal suite, though it was clearly also a gilded cage. 2 guards stood permanently outside his door, for his protection, they claimed, but he knew better. 3 weeks after the medical discovery, Trizek arrived to escort Michael to the Queen's private chamber. "How is she?" Michael asked as they walked the shimmering corridors. Trizek's skin rippled with displeasure. "Her Majesty's condition is not your concern, human. Given that I'm partly responsible for her condition, I think it is my concern," Michael replied evenly. The advisor stopped abruptly, his 4 eyes narrowing. "You presume too much. This unfortunate situation will be resolved by the Council. The Queen will be cleansed of this contamination, and you," he paused, his skin darkening. "You will face consequences for endangering the royal bloodline." Before Michael could respond, they reached the Queen's chambers. The doors opened to reveal Zalera standing by the window, her form silhouetted against the light of the alien suns. Her abdomen now showed a visible curve, confirming what the scans had revealed. The hybrid pregnancy was progressing at an accelerated rate. "Leave us, Trizek," she commanded without turning. The advisor bowed reluctantly and departed, shooting Michael a venomous look. When they were alone, Queen Zalera turned to face him. Her skin glowed with a soft purple hue that Michael had come to recognize as her new normal. The color seemed linked to her pregnancy. "The Council demands I terminate the pregnancy," she said without preamble. "They claim it threatens the genetic purity of the royal line and could destabilize the Empire." Michael approached cautiously. "And what do you want?" The question seemed to surprise her. In Azurathian society, a queen's personal desires were secondary to dynastic and imperial concerns. She studied him for a long moment. "I have lived for 3 centuries, she said softly. "In that time, I have followed every tradition, upheld every law, met every expectation placed upon me as queen." She placed a hand on her growing belly. "But these lives growing inside me, they are unprecedented. Unique. They represent something that has never existed before." "A bridge between our species," Michael suggested. "Perhaps." She gestured for him to sit across from her. "Tell me about your work on Earth. No more evasions or simplifications. I want to know exactly what you were researching." Michael took a deep breath. "I was leading a project on xenogenetics, specifically, the theoretical compatibility between Earth DNA and potential extraterrestrial life forms. My team had discovered unusual adaptability markers in human DNA that suggested our species might be genetically compatible with certain other theoretical life forms." "Theoretical?" Her skin flickered with amusement. "Yet here we are." "Yes. What we considered theoretical turned out to be very real." He leaned forward. "Your Majesty, the Azurathian cellular ability to absorb and integrate foreign genetic material is remarkable. Combined with these specific human compatibility markers, it created something that should be scientifically impossible. The Council believes this is an abomination." "The Council is afraid," Michael countered. "New things often frighten those in power. But think about the possibilities this represents, not just for human Azurathian relations, but for your understanding of genetics and biology." A soft chime interrupted them, and the Queen touched a crystal on her wrist. A holographic image appeared, Dr. Vexer requesting entry. The Queen granted it with a gesture. The physician entered, carrying medical equipment. His skin showed mottled patterns of stress as he bowed. "Your Majesty, I must perform your daily examination." "As Dar." Vexer began his scan. Michael noticed the doctor's hands trembling slightly. Something was wrong. The scan completed, Dr. Vexer displayed the results. The hybrids continue to develop at an accelerated rate. Their neural patterns are remarkable. They show both Azurathian telepathic structures and human creative cognitive patterns. Queen Zalera's skin brightened. "They are healthy?" "Yes," Vexer admitted reluctantly. "Surprisingly so." He glanced nervously at the door. Michael moved closer to the Queen. Dr. Vexer, is there something you're not telling us? The physician's skin flashed with panic. The chamber doors burst open. High Counselor Zevrik strode in, flanked by royal guards. His tall, imposing figure dominated the room, his skin a cold blue of authority. Queen Zalera, he announced formally, the High Council has reached a unanimous decision. This dangerous genetic experiment must be terminated immediately. For the safety of the Empire and the purity of the royal line. Zalera rose to her full height, her skin flaring crimson. You overstep, Zevrik. The Council advises the Crown, it does not command it. In normal circumstances, yes, Zevrik conceded. But when the monarch is compromised, physically or mentally, emergency protocols may be enacted. He gestured to Dr. Vexer. Your royal physician has confirmed that these hybrid entities are affecting your brain chemistry, influencing your decisions. Dr. Vexer stared at the floor, his betrayal evident. This is absurd, the Queen hissed. I am in full command of my faculties. Zevrik continued as if she hadn't spoken. The human will be removed for study, and you will undergo the purification procedure immediately. He nodded to the guards. Secure them both. As the guards advanced, Michael moved to protect the Queen. Don't touch her. One guard raised a weapon, but before he could fire, something extraordinary happened. Queen Zalera's body suddenly emanated a powerful pulse of energy that knocked everyone back. Her skin glowed with an intensity Michael had never seen before. You will not harm these children, she declared, her voice resonating with unusual power. And you will not touch their father. Michael stared in amazement. The Queen had always possessed telepathic abilities like all Azurathians, but this display of power was unprecedented. Zevrik recovered his balance, his skin pale with shock. What is this? How are you? It's the hybrid pregnancy, Dr. Vexer whispered, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. The combined genetic properties are enhancing Her Majesty's natural abilities. Taking advantage of the confusion, Michael grabbed the Queen's hand. We need to leave, now. To his surprise, she nodded. There is a royal transport vessel in the private hangar. My genetic signature can override any security protocols. As they moved toward a concealed exit at the back of the chamber, Zevrik found his voice. Guards! Stop them. This is treason against the Empire. But the guards hesitated, torn between the Council's orders and their ingrained loyalty to the Queen. In that moment of hesitation, Queen Zalera activated a hidden panel, revealing a private passage. This leads directly to the royal hangar, she explained as they entered the dark corridor. As the panel closed behind them, Michael heard Zevrik's enraged voice ordering a palace-wide lockdown. They had minutes at most before every exit would be sealed. Your Majesty, Michael said as they hurried through the passage, are you sure about this? You're leaving everything behind, your throne, your empire. In the dim light, he could see her skin glowing with that strange purple hue, punctuated now with flashes of determined gold. I am still Queen, she said firmly. And I will not let anyone harm my children, even if they are half human. She placed a hand on her belly. Besides, I believe these twins may represent something more important than an empire. They may represent a future. As they reached the end of the passage, Michael realized that the decorative human had indeed decorated the Queen with more than just twins. He had given her something her 3 centuries of rule had never provided, a reason to choose her own path. 6 months passed since Queen Zalera and Michael fled the Azurathian capital. Their royal transport vessel had taken them to the distant edges of the Empire, to a small moon orbiting an unremarkable gas giant. Here, among a colony of scientists and artists who had left mainstream Azurathian society to pursue independent research, they found sanctuary. The dwelling they occupied sat atop a cliff overlooking an iridescent sea. Inside, Michael adjusted medical equipment while Zalera reclined on a specially designed bed. Her pregnancy had progressed rapidly, far faster than a human pregnancy but slower than the typical Azurathian gestation period of 3 months. "How are you feeling today?" Michael asked, checking the readings on the monitor. Zalera's skin rippled with blues and purples, contentment mixed with anticipation. "The twins are active. I can sense their minds forming, reaching out." She placed her hands on her now large belly. "They are curious, like you." Michael smiled. Over these months, he had watched an extraordinary transformation in the once haughty queen. The woman who had once collected him as a decorative pet now treated him as an equal partner. "Dr. Nari believes you'll deliver within the week," he said, referring to the colony's chief physician who had agreed to help them. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. The communication panel flashed with an urgent message. Michael activated it, revealing the concerned face of Lurk, one of the colony's security officers. "Dr. Chen, we've detected an Azurathian Imperial vessel entering orbit. It appears to be a Royal Command ship." Michael's heart sank. "They found us." Zalera struggled to sit up, her skin paling to a worried gray. "Zevrik. It must be. We've implemented the security protocols you designed," Lurk continued. "But they're transmitting royal override codes. Our shields won't hold for long." "Evacuate the non-essential colonists," Zalera commanded, instantly reverting to her royal authority. "And send Dr. Nari to us immediately." After Lurk signed off, Michael helped Zalera to her feet. "We need to get you to the emergency transport." She shook her head. "No. Running is no longer an option." Her skin shifted to a determined gold. "My children will be born today, Michael. I can feel it. And they will not be born as fugitives." Before Michael could argue, Dr. Nari rushed in. The four-armed physician quickly assessed the situation. "Your Majesty, your labor has begun, hasn't it? The stress of the situation has triggered it." Zalera nodded, wincing as the first contraction hit. "How long?" "With hybrid births, I cannot be certain," Dr. Nari admitted. "But given your accelerated progression, perhaps only hours." Michael gripped Zalera's hand. "The Imperial forces will reach us before then. Then we will face them," she said firmly. "Help me dress in my royal garments." 3 hours later, Queen Zalera sat on an improvised throne in the colony's central chamber. Despite being in active labor, she wore full royal regalia, her crown gleaming in the light of the gas giant visible through the dome overhead. Michael stood at her right hand, dressed in formal Azurathian attire that marked him as a royal consort, though no such ceremony had actually taken place. The colony's main doors slid open. High Counselor Zevrik entered, flanked by royal guards. His skin darkened with shock at the sight of the heavily pregnant queen in full ceremonial dress. "Queen Zalera," he began formally, though his voice carried undisguised disgust, "by order of the Imperial Council, I have come to return you to the capital for medical treatment and purification." Zalera's skin flashed dangerously. "You have come to commit regicide, Zevrik. Let us not pretend otherwise." The counselor's eyes narrowed. "The hybrid abominations you carry have corrupted your mind. Once they are removed, you will see reason again." "These abominations are royal heirs," she countered. "And they will be born today." As if on cue, Zalera gasped, doubling over as a powerful contraction seized her. Michael supported her while Dr. Nari rushed forward with medical equipment. Zevrik signaled to his guards. "Seize the human and restrain the queen. The procedure will be performed immediately." But before the guards could move, a blinding light filled the chamber. Zalera's body glowed with intense energy, stopping everyone in their tracks. When she spoke, her voice echoed with unusual power. "You will not touch my children or their father." The energy emanating from her formed a protective barrier around them. Dr. Nari worked quickly, monitoring the accelerating birth process while Michael held Zalera's hand. "The twins are coming," the doctor announced. "Now." What happened next would be recounted throughout the empire for centuries to come. As Queen Zalera delivered her children, the entire chamber filled with pulsating light. The twins, a boy and a girl, emerged not with cries but with a telepathic burst so powerful that every Azurathian present, including Zevrik and his guards, dropped to their knees. The twins' skin shifted through colors never before seen in Azurathian society, brilliant golds, silvers, and patterns that seemed to contain galaxies. Their eyes, when they opened, showed an awareness that belied their newborn status. Dar. Nari placed the twins in Zalera's arms, his skin pale with awe. They're perfect. Their genetic scans show stabilized hybrid DNA with enhanced capabilities from both species. Michael stared at his children in wonder. They had his human features mixed with Azurathian traits, iridescent skin that changed colors, slightly elongated limbs, and the telltale signs of telepathic capability in their brain patterns. Zevrik, still on his knees, looked up in shock. Impossible. Hybrid offspring should be weak, flawed. Yet they are stronger than any pure Azurathian, Michael observed, unable to keep the pride from his voice. Perhaps genetic diversity brings strength, not weakness. As the twins settled in their mother's arms, something extraordinary happened. A telepathic communication broadcast from their newborn minds reached everyone present, not with words, but with images and emotions showing a future where humans and Azurathians work together, sharing knowledge and abilities. Queen Zalera looked at Zevrik with regal authority. You came seeking to destroy what you did not understand. Instead, you will witness the beginning of a new era for our empire. The High Counselor slowly rose to his feet, his skin shifting through complex patterns of confusion and reluctant acceptance. The council will need to be convinced. They will be, Zalera said confidently, nodding toward her children. These twins carry the future of two species within them. Their very existence proves that we are not as different as we believed. She turned to Michael, her skin glowing with an emotion he had never seen in her before, something beyond the purple of maternal protection, something deeper. You were brought to me as a decoration, a status symbol. Instead, you gave me the greatest gift an immortal queen could receive, a true reason to evolve. Michael gently touched the faces of his hybrid children. What will you name them? Zalera smiled. The boy will be Prince Terra, for your Earth. The girl will be Princess Nova, for the new star our peoples will become together. As news spread throughout the colony and beyond, ships began arriving from across the empire. Not to attack, but to witness the miracle of the hybrid royal twins. The children who, according to rapidly spreading reports, shared telepathic powers stronger than any in Azurathian history combined with the creative adaptability that made humans unique. 6 months later, Queen Zalera returned to the capital in triumph, her twin children floating beside her throne in special anti-gravity cradles, their skin shimmering with colors never before seen in the royal court. Michael walked beside her, now officially recognized as royal consort and ambassador of Earth. The decorative human had indeed decorated the queen with twins, and in doing so, had changed the destiny of 2 worlds forever. As Michael looked at his extraordinary family, he couldn't help but smile at the irony. He had been taken from Earth against his will, treated as little more than an exotic pet. Yet here he stood, father to the most important children in the galaxy and partner to its most powerful queen. Perhaps being decorative wasn't so bad after all.